2 years ago, my world turned to ash in a single afternoon. Lightning, a split-second flash, then a roar like the sky itself had split apart. My house, my family's home, was gone. The fire took everything. The furniture, the keepsakes, the photographs that held decades of stories. Gone. By some miracle, my 3 kids were at school, my husband and I at work. We were safe. But safety doesn't mean stability. Safety doesn't rebuild a roof over your head. The insurance would help, yes, but they took nearly 11 months to pay out. They covered 1 month in a hotel. After that, we were on our own. We had nowhere to go except to my sister-in-law's house. She said she'd help. She offered us her spare room and her office, 2 spaces we could use while we got back on our feet. Her terms sounded reasonable. Buy our own food and pay her $100 a week. We agreed. It felt like a blessing in the middle of chaos. But by week 3, the blessing curdled. She changed the terms. Suddenly, the rent was $250 a week, and the office space she had offered, gone. We could only use the smallest room in the house. 5 of us, 2 adults, 3 children, crammed into a space so small it couldn't fit a twin bed and a dresser at the same time. We slept on the floor. We lived out of trash bags. And still, we had to buy all our own food. That would have been fine, except she was claiming my children on her food stamps. She had almost no real expenses. Land tax, $450 a year. Electricity, heating oil, which she barely filled. And yet, she was pocketing nearly $1,000 a month from us. Money she could have used to help, to make our lives easier, or at the very least, to cover her basic bills. Instead, she used it for leisure, while we slept on a floor in her house. 8 months we endured this. 8 months of pretending it was temporary, of telling our kids it was just for now. 8 months of swallowing resentment while she profited off our disaster. Fast forward to 3 months ago. My grandmother, after a fall, decided to move into assisted living. She transferred the deed of her 5-bedroom farmhouse to me. Just like that, I had a home again. Space, stability, a place my kids could breathe. It felt like a chapter closing, until my phone rang last month. It was my sister-in-law. She had lost her house. Years of not paying her land tax had caught up to her. She needed somewhere to stay, just until she could save enough to move down south. She asked if she and her stepdaughter could live with us. I agreed, with conditions. 1 bedroom, $800 a month, and she would need to buy and cook her own food, because my daughter is vegan, and I didn't want that to become a conflict. When I told her, there was a pause. Then, disbelief. She said she and her stepdaughter shouldn't have to share a room when I had 2 extra bedrooms sitting empty. She said she couldn't afford $800 a month in separate groceries. I looked her right in the eye and said, neither could we. But we managed to cram 5 people into a glorified closet while you collected $1,000 a month from us and food stamps for my kids. Take it or leave it. She left. And now my husband's family is whispering, or not whispering at all. They say I'm being childish, petty, that I should let the past go. They forget what those 8 months felt like. Or maybe they never cared. They weren't the ones lying on the floor every night. They weren't the ones watching their kids grow quiet because they didn't want to cause trouble in someone else's house. They weren't there. I know I could have given her more. I could have been the bigger person. But all I could think of was the way she shut her door on us, Not literally, but in every way that mattered, when we were at our lowest. And how, even with all that extra money, she didn't bother to pay her own taxes. So here we are. She's somewhere else now. I'm the villain in her version of the story. So, am I the asshole? Here's my reflection as your host. Stories like this live in the gray space between revenge and justice. We want to believe that hardship softens people, that suffering teaches empathy, but often it doesn't. Sometimes it hardens them. Sometimes it reveals exactly who they are. This isn't just about rent or bedrooms. It's about what we owe each other in moments of crisis. It's about the kind of help that costs more than it gives. It's about how people will tell you to be the bigger person when what they really mean is be the quieter victim. And it's about remembering that boundaries aren't cruelty. Sometimes they're the only thing that protects you from living the same nightmare twice. So I'll ask you, not just as a listener, but as someone who might one day face their own version of this choice. When the tables turn and the person who took from you needs you, what do you do? Do you open the door wide and forget the past? Or do you make them live by the rules they set for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it.